In the midbrain, what's the other name for the midbrain? They should have added. Mesencephalon. So remember that was the name for that. How about for the other name for the thalamus and hypothalamus? Yeah, make sure you have those there. As we look at the midbrain, again looking at the areas where we have the peduncles, these are basically areas that are going to be associated with the actions that you see listed there with the superior canaliculi. Remember that that is involving with the visual reflex. Midbrain. Inferior canaliculi involves what? Put in your hand now.
Auditory reflex.
Yes. The auditory reflex, so you got to know that. And remember we had the red nuclei, which was important for
Muscle tone.
muscle tone is. What about the substantia nigra? What does that do?
Release dopamine.
Yeah, because you release dopamine, that's right. It inhibits motor impulses. And the cerebral peduncles, that involves what type of fibers?
The non-fibers.
Descending motor. So again, the descending motor fibers. So that could be the visceral motor fibers or the somatic motor fibers. Okay, so when you just see the word motor for that, it involves both. Okay, all right. And then of course, what was the other name for the reticular formation? The ROS. All right, so that is a particular area that we saw here. All right, finally it works. All right, so as we go further, again, we're going to see the membranes that is in this region between the left and right cerebrium, the left and right hemisphere. It attaches to this area called the corpus callosum. What is the membrane that you have here that is covering, separating both the left and right? What is that membrane name?
Falx cerebri.
Falx cerebri. Let me bring out the brain. All right, so remember that the membrane that we're talking about in these left and right cerebrium, the big mass, what do you call this? What do you call it? With my hands wrapping, what is that called? What is this part of the brain called? It's not brain, what is this? The cerebrium. Which one? The right side. See that? This is the cerebrium. The majority of the brain is the cerebrium. When you say brain, it's everything. What part? Cerebrium. So we're talking about the membrane in here, in between these two cerebriums. The phallic cerebra. All right, so remember it attaches to the crista gallia of the endpoint, right? That's what we learned before. All right, so the corpus callosum. You got to know that. Number one missed question. The corpus callosum is this white area, corpus callosum, right there. This is where you have the commissures, again, that are going to, the fibers that are going to crisscross. See that? The ascending fibers. So that's where it crisscrosses. And then we, of course, we see this right here, this opening, this cavity. That's the lateral cavity. So the lateral ventricles, that's the cavity, are in the hemispheres, in the cerebrum. Lateral ventricle. So this is the lateral ventricle. That'll be the first and second. And then we have another cavity around the thalamus. That's the third. And then the fourth is right there, right between the cerebellum and the pons. You see the brainstem, so it's right there. So that's what we're going to be talking about, the meninges. So let's look at that. So again, with the meninges, So we have a membrane that, again, wraps around the brain. Remember that that is part of the meninges, but the membrane on the outside is like this sheet of paper, right? Like this sheet of paper. On the outside, this membrane, what is it called? Dura mater. See that? And then on the inside, on the other side, you see that? On the other side, that is called the arachnoid matter. And then what's the other matter? Yeah, the what's the matter? Okay, the pia matter. The pia matter is like what they said, that it's like that transparent paper, like that wrapping paper. What do you call that?
Like saran wrap.
Yeah, saran wrap. There you go. Like saran wrap. It's the pia matter is on the surface of the brain. So between the pia matter and the arachnoid matter, remember the dura matter and the arachnoid is the same membrane, like this sheet of paper. But on the outside dura, inside arachnoid. So in between these, the pia matter and the arachnoid is the subarachnoid. All right? And then that's where the CSF is flowing through that area. So that's the space that we're talking about where you have the CSF. Where is the CSF produced?
In the ventricles.
Yes, because there's what?
Ependymal cells and
Yeah, the epithelial cells, which are clustered as choroid plexus. Again, that's in the ventrices. So the lateral ventricles have the choroid plexus. The third ventricle has the choroid plexus. The fourth ventricle, you can see a little bit of the red there, choroid plexus. And in the central canal of the spinal cord, you have choroid plexus. Okay, so what does the choroid plexus do? Produces CSF, because it's basically the tissue of epithelial cells together.
it also circulates.
All right? So that, they produced it, and then of course it's going to be traveling like you see it here. So it's bathing the outside. It's almost like when you bake that turkey, you're going to put that sauce on top, right? But it's also on the inside. Again, it's being baked with the CSF. And then of course, how it's removed from circulation. Again, you sip it out slowly to the arachnoid villi, and these are branching little finger-like structures that go deep or go into the CSF flow and then sip it out. So you remove it out of circulation, and that way you can go into the sinuses, the sagittal sinus, the superior sinus, the inferior sinus, to the transverse sinus, to the straight sinus, to the sacral sinus, to the jugular. And then it goes out into the venous tract. So that's how you move it out. Remember, if you can't move the CSF out, it will accumulate. You make about 500 mLs per day, fresh. Always baked fresh. Remember, you don't want to stay with the CSF from yesterday. Why not?
Because it may have bacteria, may have microbes.
Yeah, or waste products buildup. If you don't have the bacteria, then you shouldn't have it. It's like the oil. Should you still have the oil from 2 years ago? Your motor oil. 2 years ago. If you've been using the car, of course, you know that it's not a good thing, right? Okay, so the point is you got to remove it constantly. All right, so that's the same thing. You got to remove it. So the body does that. So again, this system of apertures, and that's what we had here with these. Again, the travel of the CSF from the lateral ventricles, third and fourth. That's where you're making it. So it's bathing these areas, the CSF. And then when you remove it, it's going to be from that arachnoid space because you have these projections, the arachnoid villi. So the villi are the ones that are going to remove it out. So that you move it out of circulation, and it has these two apertures, again, that are found in the fourth ventricle. So in the fourth ventricle, this is where you're going to remove it from circulation. It's in the fourth, not the lateral, not the third. It's on the fourth. Okay? So you remove it from there. So these apertures, these are basically pinholes. And of course, these pinholes can get clogged up. So they get clogged up when you have a bacteria or a virus inflaming it. So if they inflammate the membranes, the meninges, then that means that the swelling is going to cause the CSF not to be removed. And as an adult with meningitis, what are the signs and symptoms? Maybe you don't have it, you don't know you have meningitis. You know, you're not gonna see your head swell up either. Headaches. You're gonna be passing out. Like really passing out. You'll come back days, but you feel like a massive headache. It's almost like you had a concussion. Like massive. Okay? So that's when you kiss somebody, you got meningitis from them. Anyways, remember this is the one that you need to be vaccinated for, right? So remember, because we lost a lot of people due to vaccination, lack of vaccination with meningitis. So that's why it's a must now. It's only for your own protection. So the point here is that bacterial meningitis as well as viral meningitis do inflammate the membranes. So it goes into your circulatory system, it then travels into your spinal cord, and then it goes into the brain and causes the inflammation there. So that's the problem. Okay? So again, if the CSF is not being removed, most likely it's the meningitis. These areas got inflamed, it's not working correctly anymore. And that's the result that you see here with this baby. Yeah. So with a baby, you do see that the head, this is a newborn, the head does swell up.